Thanks for staying with us. So we're still celebrating Democracy Day, and we have a renowned legal practitioner and a former Attorney General and Commissioner Justice in Ondo State, Mr. Remi Olatubora, SAN, to discuss major issues that have dominated our political landscape and politics in the past 2 decades, and also preferring some kind of solutions to the challenges bedeviling our country. Welcome to the show, sir. Good morning. Are you there? Mr. Peters, are you there? I'm sure we'll also be happy. Good morning, sir. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, good morning.
So, happy Democracy Day.
I wish you the same.
Yes. So, sir, let me start with last weekend there was a protest, especially because Nigerians are agitating over issues that is obviously known to many of us already. We have the issue of the current, people are saying the 1999 Constitution must be abolished or reviewed. Others are saying that democracy has not been functional in Nigeria. How do we make it more functional? In your experience, as we celebrate Democracy Day today, how best can we institutionalize the democracy that we have such that it works for us as it has worked for other nations abroad? Sir, are you there?
I can hear you.
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I got the question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Well, there are a number of ways by which we can improve on our democratic practice at the moment. We have had a consistent agitation for the restructuring of the Federation of Nigeria over the years. Several constitutional conferences have been held. Reports have been rendered to the government. Those reports are in the shelves, maybe in National Rock, gathering dust. Nothing has been done about all of these reports. I had the rare privilege of being part of the process of the Constitutional Conference of 2014, organized by the ex president. We render reports. One of the critical areas that we addressed in the report was how to restructure the Nigerian Federation to make it workable, to go back to those fundamental bases of the formation of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that was agreed to preparatory to independence in 1959. We had our independence in 1960. And then one critical area that we must find solutions to are, number one, the formula for revenue allocation between the central government and the constituent units. The terms that we agreed to in 1960, under the 1960 Constitution, and you can check all of those in Section 130, 131, 132, 133, 134, 135 of the 1960 Constitution. All import duty on products such as tobacco, motor spirit, diesel, etc., were to be federally collected and then remitted back to the regional government based on the level of consumption of this product that each of those constituent units. Again, if you check Section 134 of 1960 Constitution, which addresses the issue of mineral resources derogation and allocation principle, it says mining royalties and mining rents are to be collected by the Federal Republic of Nigeria, government of the Federation. 50% of the revenue received will go back to the oil-bearing region. And then 30% paid to federal distributable pool. These were the fundamental terms, because when you talk about the federation, issues that are very critical are power sharing between the central government and the constituent units. Number two, tax sharing power between the central government and then, of course, the constituent units. And then, of course, revenue allocation system between the central government and the constituent units vertically, and then horizontally, the formula for revenue allocation among the constituent units in such a way that we ensure or achieve the objectives of revenue allocation. And these objectives are: 1, national unity; 2, balanced growth and development; 3, efficiency; and then 4, to ensure that the citizens of the country get optimum dividends of democracy.
Okay.
All of this we have lost under the current constitution. And so fundamentally, there must be a reformulation of the current constitution. We can discard and come up with a brand new constitution that will take us back to the fundamental basis on which we agreed upon when Nigeria was to be established.
All right, let me get a few more questions in for you.
To address that, we are going to have a problem in our hands.
Right.
All right, so listening to you, I'm happy that you were privileged to be part of the last confab. There are 2 issues that you've raised. I want us to clarify it, because we also need to find a solution going forward. One of the things you raised was the idea of resource control and revenue sharing. This was an issue that I don't even think was clearly resolved in the previous confab. How the agitations are usually tied to these 2 issues. Can we control our resources? Can we have true federalism? If we decide to go through proper resource control, giving every state ability to control whatever natural resources they have, maximize the resources natural to them, what would you say would be the right percentage? Because we've never had that conversation. That should go to the federal government if each state is controlling their resource.
Now,
are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm not hearing the studio.
Okay, we lost you for a minute, but go ahead.
I have the studio up to the point of the presenter asking.
Okay, let me go on a quick break.
What can we agree upon?
Sorry, let me go on a break. When we come back, we'll clarify the issue. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us.
So I had a question.
Yes.
I asked that if we're to have resource control by states, what would you advise would be the percentage that will be remitted to the federal government?
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Are you there?
Yes, the percentage.
Did you hear the question, sir?
It's not a matter of
Go ahead.
what percentage to be remitted to the federal government. What I mean is that we should go back to the basic principles that we agreed upon under the Independence Constitution. Import duties, we agreed on products such as motor spirit, tobacco, etc., were to be centrally collected and remitted back to the states based on the level of consumption. Under 1960 Constitution, which we must revert back to, which I think we should revert back to, revenue from oil minerals, or mineral resources generally, were to be collected by the government of the Federation. The Federation will keep 30% in the distributable pool, 50% remitted to the states, where the oil revenue is derived from. Revenue receipt from agricultural exports was to be collected federally and then remitted to the states or the region as it was then, according to the proportion of production. These are the fundamental issues that we agreed upon. Look, in every federation, I can just cite 2 examples. In Brazil, tax power is divided between the federal government and the regional government in such a way that the taxing power given to the constituent unions enabled the constituent unit to be able to raise 34.5% of revenue that is collectible in Brazil. And with this 34.5%, they can finance their own local expenditure up to 54.8%. In India, taxing power is divided between the central government and the regional government in such a way that of all the total revenue collectible in India, 30% is to be collected by the regional government. And this accounts for over 50% of the cost of their expenditure. Then the remaining funds collected federally, a percentage is paid into the federal distributable pool and shared among the states. This is the standard the world over. In the Constitutional Conference of 2014, we debated this issue. It was clear that we might not be able to revert back to the position we were in 1960. But we agree on a middle of the road point, which was that let us, for instance, for now, start with 25% of revenue remittance on the basis of derivation back to the oil-bearing states. Let us have a 10-year moratorium by which agriculture will be developed in the northern part of the country. Look, in 1960, tax or revenue from export on agricultural products was higher than the money we realized from oil revenue. Today, the northern Nigeria still have the potential of feeding the whole of Africa and then even export to large part of the world of all manners of agricultural food. So, but because over the year we have left agriculture unattended to, particularly in northern Nigeria, every one of us now will now focus on oil revenue. Oil becomes the only source of revenue, and all of us are gravitating only towards oil. If we have invested our resources over the years in agriculture, the whole of northern Nigeria can feed the whole of the world. And by now, the resources from oil revenue or residual oil will be very marginal in total revenue receipt of Nigeria.
All right, let me get a few more questions.
Because we abandoned the very important, we abandoned the very critical. Right. And that's why we are today, and we are talking, we're negotiating how much of oil revenue is to be held up by the states where this oil is derived, how much is going to be shared by others, because we have abandoned all other productive sector of the economy.
Let me get a few more questions in for you, sir.
In the Constitutional Conference of 2014, we agreed on 25% and then 10-year moratorium by which heavy investment is to be made on agriculture in the north, so that the capacity of northern Nigeria to generate revenue will be, if not as much as what you have in the oil-bearing.
All right, let me get a few questions in for you.
Sir.
Go ahead, Nima.
Okay, so because we want this conversation to be rich and we're informing people, I'd like you to take us, because now we're asking to be reverting to the 1960 Constitution. How exactly did we even arrive at, where we are now? Why do we want to go back? Let's understand the history. We've had the 1979 Constitution, we've had the 1963 Constitution. Why did we change this model that was working in 1960 and, arrived at this 1999 Constitution in the first place? Let's just do a bit of history.
Unfortunately, I'm not hearing you very well. I'm not hearing Alaja at all.
Oh. Can you hear me, sir, now?
Let me go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, Minima asked the question. Sir, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead with the answer. Thank you.
Yes, what we agreed upon, which I said were enumerated in section 130 to 135 of the Independence Constitution, was swept away when the military took over in 1966. The military virtually erased the fiscal autonomy of the constituent units when they took over government. Between 1966 and 1979, that the military were in power, virtually close to 90% of the revenue basis of the constituent unit were eroded and taken to the federal level. And then again, whereas under the 1960 Constitution, there were only 44 items in the exclusive legislative list. That's the power of the federal government, the central government. Under the current Constitution, you have 68 items that are exclusive to the federal government. And so you find that over the years, Nigeria has been turned in practice to a unitary system. So our so-called federal system is in essence a unitary system. Look, do you know that under the 1960 Constitution, issues such as arms and ammunition were under the concurrent list? Today, it is exclusively under the federal government power under the exclusive list. Today, state governments are battling insurgency. They are setting up security organization, maybe you call it vigilante or amotekun. But they don't even have the power under the Constitution to buy to them ordinary gunpowder. Because the issue of arms and ammunition is now in the exclusive legislative list. And if the federal government does not give permission, you go nowhere. So, and then now you talk about amending the Constitution. I see the National Assembly member going around the country holding conferences, town hall meeting on constitutional public hearing. Let me tell you, and when we end this program, go and check our Constitution. Look at the procedure for the amendment of the Constitution under Section 8 and Section 9 of the Constitution. You will find that what the National Assembly members are doing around is just an exercise in futility. Look, the Constitution set the procedure for the amendment of the Constitution. For example, if you want to create additional states, which is one of the agitation at the background, you have to commence that by a request by members representing that particular area desiring creation of new states in the National Assembly and the State Assembly of that particular area. They must, by 2/3 at the National Assembly and their State Assembly, bring up a request. The request must go by way of referendum. And people in that area must vote in a referendum. 2/3 of them must approve of the state creation. This same procedure applies in creation of local government, adjustment of boundary, etc. In respect of other provisions of the Constitution that are not under section, that are not covered by the amendment procedure under Section 8, you must get the 2/3 of National Assembly. You must also get at least simple majority of 2/3 of the states of the Federation. that is 24 of the 36 states, State Assembly must approve by simple majority. Okay. That is the simplest to be done. Right. Let me tell you that the procedure being gone through by the National Assembly at the moment can never take us to a point at which we are going to be able to address the fundamental issues bedeviling our Constitution.
Right. Point taken. Let me pause you for a second because we have very little time left. Let me...
All right, sir. So you have mentioned a few of the foundational issues that we have with the Constitution and why people are agitating for a new Constitution. But there's also a very major issue, which is about marginalization and the fact that the government is not really following the federal character principle in terms of appointments. Now, do you think that this Constitution, the 1999 Constitution that we have now, do you think amendment is the way to go? Or we should go back to the 1960-1963 Constitution? And if we do, at the time we had that Constitution, it served the people because the honest truth was our population was small. Do you think going back to that Constitution now would serve the current Nigeria with over 200 million people? Or people should come together and put to the table how they want their resources, aside from resources, how they want to come to the table with equity? Do you think that should be the way to go? Which one should we do now, in your opinion, sir?
Thank you. I am not averse to the suggestion that we can come together and renegotiate the basis of our existence as a nation. I don't share the view of those who feel that Nigeria is not a workable federation any longer, unfortunately. I believe that this country is a good country, is a beautiful country, and that the fundamental problems that we have at the moment can still be reworked. All of us should come together. But in coming together, we must be sincere. We must be frank in our discussion. There must be no deceit. We must ask why in 1976, Kano State with Lagos State with comparable population had number of local governments that were not too fundamentally different. Today, Lagos remain with 20 constitutionally recognized local governments. Forget about this SCDA, they are not recognized under the Constitution. 20 constitutionally recognized local governments. Kano State, that was almost of the same status with Lagos State in 1976. Now you have Jigawa and Katsina created out of old Kano State. When you put all the three states together, there are 105 local governments. And then Lagos still remain with 20.
Imagine.
Even in our own southwest, Oyo State and Ondo State were created in 1976. Later on, Osun was carved out of Oyo State. Osun has a landmass of about 9,000 square kilometers. Ondo State has 15,000 square kilometers. Ondo State has 4.6 million population. Osun State has 4.7 million. Osun has 30 local governments. Okay? Ondo State has 18 local governments. Okay. So the imbalance is there when you talk about north and south, and even regionally when you compare one state to the other in our southwest and ditto southeast. So the imbalance is everywhere. So we have to put everything on ground and have a sound, frank discussion. Because these issues are very important, because the issue of revenue allocation we are talking about, the number of local governments also determine how much of federal revenue is taken to each state.
Okay, so we have to wrap up. Sir,
revenue is now divided between the central government, that is federal government, state government, and local government.
Sir, let me come here, because what you're saying is not new. These are conversations we've had over and over again. And that's one of the reasons why the National Confab was so important. Everybody came back to the drawing board, and this report was materialized. My question, therefore, is, instead of us reverting to the 1960 Constitution, the 1963 Constitution, in your view, why don't we just push our lawmakers to adopt the national confab. Why is this government so adverse to accepting a confab that was agreed, that everybody seemed, all the notable people were called together and they came for this confab? Why is this government so adverse to implementing it, do you think?
Well, I cannot understand, my dear sister, I cannot understand. I had expected that the confab report ought to be looked into by the government, and then of course the government should look at all of those recommendations that were agreed to by leaders from across all ethnic nationalities from all states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Large representation of traditional institutions were in that confab. I do not presently work in this government, but I cannot, so for this reason, I cannot say the reason why the government has not been able to. Just look at that report. If you do not like the messenger, at least look at the message. If the message is good enough, adopt the message. Because you see, the Constitution says the essence of government, that's Section 14, sub 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, states that the security of the people and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of governance, of government. When you look at those reports of 2014, you find that virtually everything that we are talking about, revenue allocation, division of power between the federal and the state, we agreed to unanimously. All the resolutions passed in 2014 report were passed unanimously in the National Assembly, or by what we call consensus. So I cannot understand why we find it difficult to look at the report. So I cannot speak with
no problem,
for
sir.
the government in power.
That.
Maybe the Minister Lai Mohammed will be able to speak on behalf of the President as to the reason why.
Thank you very much.
We have
to wrap up now.
The report.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with the former Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Ondo State, Mr. Remi Peter Olatubora, SAN. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us from Abuja studios.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Ladies, so as we wrap up, your general thought is Democracy Day, and there's that continuous conversation on strengthening our democracy. And Nigerians, as much as we want better democracy, sometimes it's like the undemocratic approach that is the easiest way to get things done. Which is what I wanted to echo what Nima has said earlier, that if we want to really strengthen our democracy, let's do things the democratic way. If you want to renew the constitution, what are the best procedures? But the House is going around town and people are saying it's an effort in futility. I don't know how else we expect the House to review a constitution. People are saying this constitution is not working for us. What do exactly do to fix the problem? I mean, these are conversations we keep having.
My final message to Nigerians on our Democracy Day. My final message to Nigerians for our Democracy Day is that democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. The people need to get more involved in the process beyond complaining online and just protesting. We need to get our voters card. We need to register in the parties. We need to go and vote and stand and let our votes be counted. That's how we get involved.
That's all we can take on this. Thank you, ladies. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.